Good afternoon, everybody. And on this, the 16th of August, 2024. I don't want to make this stream, but I will unfortunately have to clear my name. And if I use a name, I will say Dave. And I don't mean to say the name to be ugly, but I have to differentiate who I'm talking about in distinction against the news unit channel. That Dave, I don't mean the news unit, I mean my other friend from the United Kingdom. Now, that being said, since at least 2018 that I can document, and it might go earlier, but that's what I can document. Old Good News Gospel, who has slithered on back, and so has his buddy Thick Shades, tried calling me a potato pedophile. I think in part the reason Bill deleted his channel is so that he could scrub all of the comments over at Thick Shades' channel and then rebooted his channels so he could potentially circumvent that because there were hundreds of chat comments and comments below videos that were of a very bigoted, discriminatory nature. But the narrative that's being spun is that I somehow started all of this when I, in fact, did not start all of this. The 31st of October, 2019, Halloween, as I was with friends of mine, Bill at his channel, which then migrated to Brucifer's, and I have nearly all of these streams to prove this, started a 2-year slander campaign against me. And it was they who attempted to make my life a living hell for all those years. And to this day, it still somewhat continues from time to time. What they're trying to say is, I started it all. No, in plain point of fact, they're the ones who have started it all. Brucifer did the campaign predominantly at his channel, with Rob Reed lending legal advice and assistance both as an attorney and in his law office. And since they are denying this ever happened, I will be re-uploading those slander streams to an archive that I have. I've told you all I have more archives than you think I do. You don't realize what I have and what I don't. To demonstrate exactly what these people have tried to do to me and what they have said about me. But in plain point of fact, they're the ones who started this up. And then see, this whole incident reignited when Lionheart or Eric played part of a video that didn't have anything to do with him. And I still don't know why he did that, to try to reignite further drama, the same drama that the idiots started. And yes, I'm including every single one of those usual people in that statement. But what they fail to mention, which is their modus operandi, is that no, I didn't start all of this. They did. I also had a stream where Andy, myself, Brucifer, Bill, and Dave Chapman, or Dave in the UK, it was on a panel discussing the Eric situation. It was the first time, or one of the first times, I'd talked to UK Dave in a really long time. When I was friends with Smokey, and on Smokey's panel, I really hadn't talked to Dave almost at all. And in plain point of fact, Dave came on to ask me if he'd ever tried to incite me for money or tried to give me money. No. If he'd ever, tried to use me in any capacity for those sorts of things. And the dead flat answer is no. The troublemakers, being what they are trying to rewrite history. So even though I would prefer not to have these streams re-uploaded, I have about 80 or 90% of the slander streams. They're on my hard drive right here. I'm going to re-upload them in a place where they can't flag them. And it will implicate every single one of those people in what they've been trying to do. But in plain point of fact, I don't seek these people out. I didn't start this drama. And whatever I have done pales in comparison to around a decade and a half of this. And certainly, in my case, since 2018, which would be about 6 years of nothing but attack streams, slander, bigotry, hate crimes, up to and including a lawyer trying to dissuade me from the thought that it's a hate crime. Yes, I have that stream. Yes, I have Rob on video spending every effort that he could trying to do that. Yes, I have him apologizing for his role in the campaign, which is an admission of guilt. And I have another stream of Brucifer doing likewise. No, I'm not going to say everything I did was by the book or everything that I did was Christ-like. Certainly not. But these people have given me problems since at least 2018, and they banded together for 2 full years to try to unsuccessfully, might I add, brand me as some kind of pervert. Now, because they have nothing better to do, they're trying once again to shift the narrative. This was all Ryan. Well, I had an interesting interaction today as I was trying to talk to somebody. Along comes a random crazed Brucifer screaming and hollering at me. Brucifer, I don't wish to speak with, but he comes on the panel as I'm trying to discuss scripture. Interesting that they do that. And tries to argue with me. So I just asked him directly, do you want to apologize for your death threat? Where he said, if I could shut you up and listen, I would, but I can't. Or what was it he said? If I could make you shut up and listen, I would, but I can't. I'll get to you, Kadios, in just a moment. Now, whether or not you want to admit that is a death threat or not, it doesn't matter, because that can definitely be construed as a threat, and that can definitely be understood to be a threat of bodily harm. And he just flatly screamed as loud as he could, will you apologize for saying that? Hell no. So, they're not even apologetic about anything that they do. Kadios, your playlist's video of Brucifer is so saddening. The shenanigan goes back years. Yeah, it goes back at least that I've been able to find to 2010 of the usual kind of nonsense slander campaigns and all this stuff that Brucifer, the Brucifer Bill cult do. Thick Shades is apparently back. Whatever. I haven't talked to Sam in years. I don't have anything to do with Sam. Sam doesn't have anything to do with me. He pointed his erotic domains at me, whatever. But yeah, man, this is the standard thing for them to do. Ben, Ryan, your advice to me was not to talk about them. Ben, you have to understand that I am going to say something because there is a method behind my madness. But as for you, they know how to push your buttons. They know if they do this crap to me, I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to give them something to work with. But you, as far as you are concerned, they tune you up. They get you mad, or they wait till you get mad, and then you respond. That's why I tell you, no. They want you to do that so that they can look like the victims. As for me, well, there's going to be some changes, because if you're going to make death threats, then there are things that I can do about that. Legally, there are a lot of things I can do about that, actually. In fact, I can document a long history of threats like that, a very long history of threats like that. And I'm sick and tired of being slandered, stalked, and harassed. So if I'm getting to the point where I can't even go anywhere on the YouTubes and talk to people who have nothing to do with these guys, then I might just be inclined to have to do something about this legally. Because it would be very easy to file a police report about all the death threats that I keep receiving, and the threats of things like Cheryl saying she's going to, I should be hung by my balls. She actually made a comment like that at a certain channel. I'm growing tired of it, but you should about expect as much. And Ben, if I could just say one more thing. I understand how you feel, because maybe 5-6 years ago, I felt very similarly. But since I've had to deal with this now for so long, what I'm trying to encourage you to do is just not to reply. That's why I decided, it says, Ben, to let God guide me from answering. Yeah, and I would definitely agree with that. Cadios, veiled threats for sure, and over the internet is a very serious deal. Yeah, you see, they're not very smart people. So since I'm in the U.S., unlike Andy and unlike Thick Shade, or maybe Thick Shades, I don't know why I said Thick Shades. Unlike Andy, unlike Dave from the UK, then I might just need to start making phone calls to certain police departments about these internet death threats that I keep receiving from these people. Because even if they claim they're not serious about it, I can not only document that, but I can produce witnesses to the threat. Because the beautiful thing about live streams is that people see them. People tend to be in the live streams. They tend to go over to channels like Dave's or Veckel's. And when they do that, they screw themselves because not only do they do it in places that they can't flag, but that they're doing it in front of witnesses. They're not very bright. So I'm getting to the point where I'm getting a little tired of it. Maybe, just maybe, so that I can finally have some peace on the internet. That's what I need to start doing. I need to start reporting that these people, specifically Brucifer mainly, keep making death threats. And that might be the route that I need to take because, unlike the people in the UK, most of these guys are in the US. And it is illegal to make death threats. Maybe Rob Reed, the half baked attorney, can state that for his proxy, Bruce. Because, I mean, yeah, that's very illegal. Carios. Depending on, yes. Depending on. The threats don't scare me, but, you know, the doxing threats, we're going to go after your family, we're going to go after your church, all of which have been thoroughly documented either by myself or by friends of mine. I'm getting to the point where, you know, I'm getting a little tired of it. Maybe I, as a citizen, should use my rights to report what these guys are doing. And oh, how I wish they would try to do likewise. I can't wait at the idea that I get a knock at my door from something like this, or that they file a police report on me. Go ahead. That would be hilarious because I will then show the kindly cop the years and years of things I've had to put out with this nonsense. Now, I'm not going to entertain it any further, but I'm just reaching a point with this where I'm just tired of the lies. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the cyber stalking and the threats. I'm tired of it all. They can produce, I'm sure, whatever clips they want to produce, but what they're dumb about, since suddenly I have 8 people watching, so I'm certain that they're here, is that they just don't realize anytime they make a threat and you make it on the internet, there are witnesses to that. There are people who can attest to the fact that this thing happened. There are people who saw it happen and they keep doing it in places where I can't flag it, they can't flag it. So maybe, just maybe, that's the course of action that I need to take. English 7. Dave, the news unit last year, the year prior, said he'd kill me and that he hoped my pancreas kills me. That's in the past, yes, he never apologized, so I get what it's like. Well, if Dave said that, and I have no idea if he did or didn't, Ben, because I certainly didn't see that, and I certainly wouldn't condone Dave doing that, then certainly I think that's wrong. But to give you or Dave a little bit of clemency, you guys tend to get riled up either because you're irritated with someone or because they start inciting you. That's different than people coming on your stream and doing all this crap or stalking you to other channels. I have a right as a U.S. citizen not to be terrorized, not to be harassed, not to be stalked and be subjected to hate crimes and a decade, potentially what will probably become, if these people have their way, a decade-long plus slander campaign. Stefan. Oh boy, it's just getting more and more hilarious. Yeah, I don't really find it funny, Stefan. I mean, in a sense, it's interesting to watch these guys completely fall apart. But I don't really find it funny when I have people making death threats and threatening to dox my entire family, threatening to harass my church, which would actually be a very bad idea because that just amps up the charges that could come from that. Oh, and you better believe me that if that happens, I have family who will not take that lightly. And seeing is that I pretty much know who's made the threat, and I'm pretty certain I know who the identity of that person, and that they can't just hide behind sock accounts anymore like they've tried to do for years, then that's not a very good idea. Now, that being stated, I would prefer simply that these people would go and fester in their little corner of the internet and let other people alone. But time and, well, even themselves are a testament to the fact that they can't do that. So, just a little, maybe, Rob, you can talk to Brucifer. Maybe you can't, but I need you to explain to him when you make death threats or threats of bodily harm at people, you can't do that. And when you do it across state lines, it just amps up the charges more. And then when you do it to someone with a disability, it makes it even worse. So here's the thing. Please, oh Rob, if you do hear this, because I'm sure you're either watching or you're going to hear about this, I need you to talk to Brucifer and explain to him you need to tone down with the nonsense because, number one, when you make death threats, that's bad. When you absolutely and unequivocally refuse to apologize for said death threat, it makes it even worse. And I'm not going to be stalked the rest of my life by a group of people who defend the most ridiculous things. And third, the police aren't going to stalk my daughter, which I never did. You support a convicted, nasty person who's on the sex offender registry. A, no, I don't. And B, even if I did, that's not illegal. But I'm not advocating for what he does. I'm not advocating for someone like that. And I'm not going around making death threats. I don't do this. I don't seek these guys out. Oh, England 7. He did. It was recorded. I don't understand why they're stalking you. I don't know what was said before I came on the scene, but I have seen firsthand behind the scenes how they work. Well, yeah, and they're just a bunch of nasty critters. And if he did, Ben, I'm sorry. I wish that news unit would not say things like that. Excuse me. I'm not denying that he did or didn't say it, Ben. It's just I don't watch all this stuff. I'm not the guy who spends all day, every waking minute that I can, glued to the YouTube monitor so that I can try to find dirt on my enemies. Prompt immediate action. So yeah, that's the note on which I wish to end it, Kadios. You can always get restraining orders. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder, maybe that's the direction I ought to go in. Because if I got a restraining order in the United States against these people, some of these people who keep harassing me, then maybe, just maybe, it would at least afford me some protection because knowing the way they behave, they are absolutely bound to break it. And the beautiful thing about it is that when they break it, they tend to do it on the internet. While people are watching, while they're making comments from channels that have unique @handle signatures and unique ISP addresses that, yes, you can move around and whatever if you use VPNs, which some of these guys do. And supposedly Bill had an ISP master at one point. I don't know if he still has one. But maybe, just maybe, that's what's going to have to happen so I can peacefully live my life and not have to worry about problems from people like this. English 7. Got a mate in London, friend in London. He's a boxer and comes from a family that takes no nonsense. Someone threatened him and his wife. A mate went and broke the violence. I don't endorse violence, but my mate defends himself. Yeah, I'm not advocating for violence. And see, that's the thing. I would prefer that these people can just go away. I would prefer that they would leave me alone. And I'm really at that point where I'm starting to wonder, well, I can't go to YouTube channels where I'm not even discussing these people, or I'm not anywhere near them. They're not on the panels. So maybe that's the course I need to take. Maybe that's the course I need to take. And from there are other things that I can do. Um, Not going to say what they are, but I have a couple of things, legally speaking, that are in mind. I'm just tired of it. This has gone on since 2018. And maybe the only way to send a true message to these people, since I've tried being nice to them, I've tried apologizing to them, I've tried everything I can think of to try to have some kind of semblance and peace. Maybe, just maybe, that's the answer. Or maybe, just maybe, that's the answer. I don't know. I'm kind of debating, depending on how far they take this. Is already in the past month, I've had threats to be doxxed, to dox my family, to harass my church, to have videos of myself sent all over the place, including to my family. And I've documented all this, or friends of mine have documented all this. I've had the veiled death threat, the 3rd of July, from Brucifer. And there are other threats. I mean, Cheryl comes into Dave's channel today and says that I should be hung by the balls. I don't know. That kind of sounds like a threat from Cheryl Renzi. I don't know if that's her name, but that's what I've been told. I'm just getting tired of it. I don't know how I'm going to handle this or what I'm going to do exactly. But that is where I'm leaning with us. And yes, vengeance belongs to me, says the Lord. As Hebrews says, vengeance belongs to God. Trust God, and He guides us where we need to go. Yeah, Ben, I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. And I'm starting to wonder what I should do. I'm really starting to wonder where I should go with this. Stefan, oh, I'm aware. He's trying to scare me. I mean, here's the thing. He threatened to dox me 5 weeks ago, and he's not done it, but he keeps spitting that out there and spitting that out there and spitting that out there, old Brian. And I'm getting to the point where, well, they already did this to someone for over 14, 15 odd years. That is demonstrable. I can easily prove that. Now they've been doing it to me since about 2018 or so. I'm wondering if I can document this pattern of behavior stretches back over a decade, and I can document what's been going on with me since 2018 and all the slander videos. I wonder, is a restraining order in order? Because they're going to break it. And of course, I have extensive documentation. I have extensive records of all of this. I've got a whole hard drive and whole cloud storage space with all this stuff. I could fill up multiple channels if I wished. But I'm getting to that point where I'm starting to wonder if that's the best option to protect myself. And I'm sure they're going to do more. And they're going to double and triple and quadruple down on the threats and make more stupid videos. You see, I wouldn't care if they just made stupid videos. Who cares about that? No one cares about stupid videos. Hello, SOC. Good to see you. But this is going beyond stupid videos. It's going into, we're going to go after your family. We're going to go after you. We're going to ruin you on the internet. We're going to harass and make threats against you. I don't care if they're empty threats. I don't care if you want to sheepishly walk them back. Threats are still threats, and that's very much illegal. Threatening to dox somebody, threatening to go after his family, threatening to harass the church, that's all illegal. In the terms of harassment, at least. I don't know. I'm going to have a lot to have to think about over the weekend. But if this continues, I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. I'm not going to make videos about it. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to have this nonsense. I'm not going to go the rest of my life with people doing this crap to me. And as much as I really loathe the idea of having to do it, you know what? Cease and desist letters are pretty cheap, and restraining orders, well, you know what? I have a feeling that if I went over to my local police department and had to tell them that a certain person at a certain address is doing this, is making death threats, and that not only can I document that, but I can furnish witnesses for the same, that maybe that will send a message across the bow. If you want to disagree with me on the internet, I don't care about your disagreements. But you don't have a right to harass me, and you don't have a right to threaten my family. You don't have a right to post up pictures of my priest and say, I'm going to contact him and whatever in an attempt to scare me off of the internet or what have you. So, Janet, some of you will be harassed less if I start to be mean instead of nice. Well, Janet, it's not about, see, that's the thing. You can't reason with these people. They're thugs. They're very cowardly, thuggish people. But I know one thing that thugs understand. And that one thing is either an act of scumbaggery like what they do, which I will not do, or having someone with a stick bigger than theirs remind them that they don't have the right to do these things. Either way, I hope you all take care. I'm going to have a lot to think about over the weekend. Because I'm going to tell you what, Brucifer, harassing me and stalking me wherever I go, making death threats, Brian coming after me and threatening my family, and you're just not letting up, I'm not going to have that. But boy, wouldn't it be terrible? Wouldn't it be terrible if they got a knock at the door saying, hey, you can't do this, and that's illegal. Let me just say one further thing before I go. I don't seek these guys out. I don't have anything to do with them anymore. And yet, week after week, day after day, it's the same old doxing threats. It's, I'm trying to spin a narrative and attack you for whatever reason. I really don't care exactly why, but what I care about is this. In all 50 states, this is illegal. And certainly, this proves that you people are definitely not Christians. I mean, good Lord. I can be understanding of a Christian who lost his temper, but I can't be understanding of this. Very well said. And believe me, I've got so much documentation, it ain't even funny. Well, y'all take care, gentlemen, and y'all have a lovely weekend.